everyone. I'm Adam Brown, and this is Shell Point Today for Thursday, September 22nd. On today's show, we'll bring you a new segment entitled Art Chat, where you'll meet some of your Shell Point residents who have some amazing collections of their own creations to show. And we'll learn about hearing aids from Michelle Tompkins and her guest, Jack Adams. But first, don't forget that tomorrow is Beach Day. Head out to Delnor Wiggins Pass State Park for a wonderful day at the beach, a picnic lunch, and a stop for ice cream on the return trip. Court pickups begin on the island at 8:30 a.m., and the cost of the trip, including the picnic lunch, is $16. Ice cream is on your own. Before hitting the sand and surf, make sure you sign up at either service desk. This Saturday is another exciting Life Quest discussion group. This will be the time to remember the past and revel in the future of Sanibel. Yes, there was a time when the only way to get to the island was by boat or airplane. Sanibel Before the Causeway is a film directed by Emmy winner David E. Carter that will be shown at Saturday's discussion group. Much of the film consists of recently discovered vintage film from the 40s, 50s, and 60s that gives us a peek into the past of this stunning island. You'll want to sign up at either service desk so you can attend at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands Saturday. Some other beauty that you'll want to gaze upon is the artful creations of many of our Shell Point residents. That's why we are bringing you the first in an ongoing series entitled Art Chat. Margie Lee of Lucina, an exhibition consultant for the upcoming Ageless Creativity Art exhibits in 2017, brings us our first artist on today's show. Mike Klein has been making art for quite a while and is one of the oldest here at Shell Point. He has filled his residence with many of his beautiful works, and Margie got a close look at them and learned more about the man behind the inspiration.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Art Chat. I'm Margie Lee, and today we're here at Nautilus and we're chatting with potter Mike Klein. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for being with us, Mike.
Well, I'm very happy to do it.
Now, you're an inspiration, I think, to all the artists here at Shell Point, because at 97...
I may not be the best, but I'm the oldest.
Well, and you're still actively creating art.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Well,
Yeah.
you do a wonderful job. We're surrounded by art here in your apartment.
Yeah, well.
Before we talk about your art,
Uh-huh.
let's talk a little bit about you. Tell me about your career, because you had a really fascinating career and you were involved with creating a particular invention. Tell me about that.
Well, I worked for the Army Night Vision Laboratory in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and they were responsible for developing all the different devices to help the Army operate at night. And the project that I was most involved in was developing the night vision goggles. And presently all the soldiers are equipped with these simple devices that they can go around and see in the dark. My wife was working in Washington, and she came home one evening and told me that she had signed up for a pottery class in Washington. And so I decided maybe the best thing for me to do was to take the same class. So we took this, it was a beginner's class, and we learned how to mix the clay and pour into molds and things like that. Yeah, I retired and we moved to Florida. And then I had, when we built our house, we built it so that the living quarters were elevated. And on the lower level, we had Evelyn's weaving studio and my pottery studio. Because she was a very accomplished weaver, as you can see for some of these pieces. Yeah.
Well, you were quite a creative couple. We are looking at some of her work right here.
Yes.
Well, Mike, here we are looking at some of your creations. And I am so taken with your whimsical little animal creatures. And when we were chatting earlier, you were telling me how you bring life to these animals. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, one of the things that you'll notice with this little guy is his eyes are bright. And that's something that I found was very important. If you're going to make any kind of a little animal and make him look lifelike, you've got to make his eyes bright So I use a real shiny black glaze.
Okay, so that's glaze
yeah.
in his eyes. You're putting it into
We put it in the electric kiln,
Okay.
and the kiln gets heated up to almost 2,000 degrees.
Wow. Wow.
And then it's fired clay.
And then you do wonderful things like this wonderful little pot.
I like teapots. Dan likes teapots too.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the Chinese symbol for tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We buy the handles.
Well, that's just charming. Did you ever serve tea out of that? Did you ever serve tea out of that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a golden hippopotamus.
Well, I
before.
don't think many people have. This is the first.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I made him, and he was brown,
okay.
and I don't know. He didn't. He
just
didn't
spoke
grab
to
me.
you.
No,
Okay.
so I figured, well, I'll paint him gold, and I gave him a coat of gold paint, and that's the way he ended up.
Well, that's a statement.
Yeah.
That's a statement. Well, here we have all sorts of different things. Many more of your wonderful, whimsical animals. Certainly that's a theme that we see a lot here. There's a couple here that are particularly interesting. Talk a little bit about this guy.
Oh, this little elephant is a whistle.
And does he work?
Yeah. See
He's
the
cute.
shiny eyes?
The shiny eyes. Now, is that glaze again with the eyes?
Well, this guy, no, this isn't glazed. It's this is the natural color of the clay,
Okay.
and this is a liquid paint
Oh,
called an
okay,
underglaze that we
okay.
paint on to get the color.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a special fondness for monkeys. I love the way he just looks straight out at you. And then we go from the whimsical up here to these just really lovely, simple forms. And I'm noticing that some of them, this one, for instance, is very shiny, and this one is rough. How does a potter, what's the difference? How do you...
Well, this is again done with a glaze that's painted on, and this one it's just the color but no shiny glaze.
No glaze applied to it.
And then one of the tricks here is that blending.
Yes.
So that was done by spraying the color on there.
Oh, interesting. Well, here we are, Mike. And the first time I saw this, I was amazed at this. This was made at Shell Point, correct?
Yes,
And what do you call it? What's the title of this?
Arab Village.
Arab Village. And what made you want to create such a monumental pot? It's just stunning.
I don't know, every once in a while you feel like making something big.
Yeah.
Get tired of making little things. So for this I had to make a big mold. I actually made 3 of these big pots. I gave them to my nephew and niece and so on.
It's amazing.
And the little minaret I made on the wheel, and the domes on the wheel.
And the lighting inside really makes it pop. It's just a very, very, very special piece of art. It's a beautiful pot. And this pot will be featured in the exhibition Ageless Creativity, which will be in February. So we want everybody to mark their calendars for February so that they can come down and see your wonderful pot. And we want to thank you so much for doing that. Ageless Creativity will be in the Davis Center in downtown Fort Myers the first time.
When is the date?
It's in February. There will be an opening for Shell Point. We'll be talking more about that when we get closer to the date. But Mike, this is such a lovely courtyard, and one of the things that makes it so special is that fountain in the middle. Tell us a little bit about that fountain.
I made that fountain actually to replace the fountain that had been in there. It was made of copper, and it was leaves, and the water would run from one to the other. And the thing, there was something peculiar. Somebody had put something in the water that was corrosive, and as this water played over the leaves, it ate holes in them. So this copper fountain just deteriorated. And I decided I'll make a new one. I didn't talk to anybody from Shell Point. I just said, I'm going to make a new fountain. So I made that and put it in. And when I was starting to put it in, somebody came along and said, you can't do that. They've got another fountain that they're going to put in here. Anyway, we got it finally settled, and my fountain stayed. So that's what we have now. Yeah.
Well, the fountain is a dedication to your
my
wife.
late wife, yes. I have a little strip on there that has it says in memory of. Yeah.
Well, it's a wonderful tribute to your talent. It's a wonderful tribute to her. And I want to thank you for spending time with us today on Art Chat.
Well, I'm happy to do it.
It's been a delight spending some time with you. And I want to thank all of you for joining us at Art Chat. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We now go from seeing things to hearing things. And if you're one of the many who benefit from hearing aids, then listen up. Excuse the pun. Audiologist Jack Adams has returned to talk with Michelle Tompkins about his upcoming presentation entitled, Finally, a New Hearing Aid Technology. Jack is excited to speak about a significant new breakthrough in the technology, so let's listen in.
Hi, I'm Michelle Tompkins with Resort Services, and I'm here today with Jack Adams, audiologist that will be doing a presentation in our Health Connections program coming up in September. Welcome, Jack. This is not your first time here, is it?
No, I've been doing these for several years now.
Well, welcome back. We're glad to have you present in our program again. Tell us a little bit about your program and what you're going to be talking about.
Well, the name of the program is Finally, a New Hearing Aid Technology. And I've been telling my patients over the last 2 months since this technology became available that in my career, which now spans about 30 years, there have been 2 prior really big changes in technology. One is when digital hearing aids first came out 20 years ago. And then 10 years ago, there was a new type of hearing aid developed which left the ear canal open, so you didn't have to have a plug in your ear. That revolutionized, how we were able to fit hearing aids. And now this technology that just came out 2 months ago is the 3rd biggest breakthrough over that 30-year period that I can comment on and remark about. And it looks at sound and amplifying sound in a very different way than we've ever looked at it before.
Wow, they've certainly come a long way. I can see that, definitely.
It has come a long way. In the past, what we were doing with hearing aids was always trying to tune things out, focus in on sound and tune the background out. And now, what this new technology does is looks at what the ear needs in a different way, and it picks up all sound. It wants the user to hear sound naturally, not filter it out, tune it out, focus in, but allow the user to hear sound naturally, the way a normal ear would hear it, by allowing it to hear all of the sounds. Now, it does modulate it for noise, and it modulates it for different frequencies and speech, but it's a much more natural type of quality because the brain is actually what filters out noise. The brain is actually what allows us to attend to and pay attention to certain things. So this hearing aid gives the auditory system all the information it needs and then allows your brain to work naturally by tuning out and tuning in the sound that it wants for understanding.
Well, I know as you age, hearing loss becomes a main concern for many of our residents and the aging population. But who would benefit from coming to this presentation?
Anybody that thinks they might have a hearing loss, anybody that is wearing hearing aids that they are not getting satisfactory benefit from, and in particular those individuals that have the most difficulty in background noise, which is usually most people that have hearing loss. That's the complaint we always hear, is that it's really hard to hear in the dining room, or it's really hard to hear when there's a bunch of people at a social gathering. And this hearing aid, from what I'm hearing from the patients that I have fit with it thus far, allows people a much easier time in listening. One of the claims of this new instrument is that it's 20% less listening effort in noisy environments. And that's a big thing to someone with a hearing loss. Any little percentage of benefit can be very significant in terms of understanding. And the harder people have to work, the more fatigue they get and the less they are wanting and willing to pay attention. So anytime we can relieve people of some of the effort involved, it's really advantageous.
Absolutely, and this program would also benefit not just those with hearing loss, but maybe a spouse or a loved one that's going through some hearing loss and that may be interested in learning more.
Definitely. I'm going to start the presentation out with an explanation and a step-by-step understanding of why we have difficulty with our hearing and why this new technology helps fill in some of those gaps and fill in some of that need. And this little instrument right here is one of these new hearing aids. And it looks very much like a lot of the currently available hearing aids. But this is $100 million of investment of research and development from this manufacturer to produce this hearing aid. And it's a 50 times faster processor than we've ever had before in a hearing aid. So it's exciting for me when these periods of truly new breakthroughs become available to be able to share that with individuals.
That's amazing. I know we were just talking before the interview that you can answer your phone now on your hearing aid. Wow.
In the old days, in the older days, or current technology, you could, but you had to use an additional device.
Sure. Yes.
Now that the additional device is no longer necessary, if your phone rings, you would immediately hear it in your hearing aid.
And that size of that hearing aid, like you mentioned, is very much smaller than what they used to be.
They're very cosmetically appealing and comfortable because you no longer have a large piece that goes down into your ear canal. It's just an open type fitting that doesn't plug up the ear.
And one hearing aid doesn't fit all. You have to adjust them to each person, obviously.
Right. They are all programmable, so we design them for that particular person's daily use of their hearing aids as well as their hearing loss, so that we know exactly how to give them the best possible function.
Well, thank you.
It is absolutely my pleasure.
Thanks for being here. If this sounds like something you may be interested in, or a spouse or a loved one, please don't hesitate. Call either service desk and sign up for Jack Adams' presentation. Finally, new breakthroughs of hearing aid technology. It is September 28th. It'll begin at 2:15 at the Social Center on the island. And I'm sure he'll answer your questions if you have any at the end. But we appreciate this and hope to see you then. Sign up now. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Welcome to the happening segment of ShellPoint TV. I'm Dora Robbins.
I'm Bev Chandley.
And we're here today to tell you about today's events. We're going to start at 7:15 at the Health Club. It's Bend, Breathe, and Balance. At 8 o'clock, it's men's golf, and it's at the ShellPoint Golf Club. At 8 o'clock, we also have pickleball, and that's at the game courts on the island. At 8 o'clock, we have round robin tennis, and that's at the Woodlands tennis courts. We have the Paddlers Club at 8:30. They'll be at the kayak storage on the island. At 9:15, we have shuffleboard, and that's at the shuffleboard court on the island. At 9:30, we have current events. That's at the game room at the Woodlands. At 9:30, we have ladies match play. That's at the tennis courts. And then introduction to beginning line dance. That's at the Health Club at 9:45. At 10:15, we have basic line dancing, and that's also at the Health Club on the island. At 10:45, Susie Q is going out to Fathoms and Through the Locks. Sign up is required. And that's this morning's happenings.
We're going to start our afternoon lineup today with the 12:45 Mahjong game. That's in the Library Lounge on the island. At 1 o'clock, we have Ready, Steady, and Balance. Prevent Falls in 2016. That's at the Larson Pavilion. We have Samba at 1:15 at the Resident Activity Center. Fun and Fitness will be at the Community Room of King's Crown at 1:45. The Stamp Ministry will be in the Stamp Room in the Tunnel at 2 o'clock. At 2:15, Grief Share will be in the Chapel of the Village Church. We have a House Connections class at 2:15.
Savor the Flavor, Cooking with Shell Point Chefs in the Social Center. We have another Health Connections at 2:45, Balance Basics. That's in the Health Club, and you do need to sign up for that. The Springs Bible Study will be going on in the Springs Dining Room at 3 o'clock. And at 4:30, we have Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. That'll be in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. At 6:30, Pinochle will be played at the Library Lounge on the island. And the final activity of the day is the Trailblazers Bible Study in the Game Room of the Woodlands, and that's at 7 o'clock. Well, we're sure glad to see you here today, and we will see you back here again tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Thursday. At 4:30, we have Ancient Persia and Alexander in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands with Professor Adrian Kerr. You can sign up right at the door.
Menus for Thursday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is chicken marsala served with pasta and broccolini. For dinner, the special is the Crystal Carving Board for $15.95. The soup of the day is country cabbage. In the Island Cafe, the sandwich special is kielbasa and kraut on a hoagie with fries for $7.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. Colin Kaepernick, the American football quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, caused quite a stir recently. Before a preseason game against the Green Bay Packers, he refused to stand during the playing of the national anthem. Asked why he sat down rather than stand, he replied, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way." You could say he took a stand by sitting down. Get it? Anyway, understandably, people soon began to take sides. Sports commentator Clay Travis called Kaepernick an idiot. Where's the proof that the government led by a black president with a black woman serving as Attorney General is racist or unjust, he asked. Certainly, Kaepernick's personal story didn't justify his claim of oppression. As an abandoned biracial child, he was adopted and lovingly raised by white parents. Then his football talents got him a free college education, and at 28 years of age, he makes $19 million a year. Now, if that's governmental oppression, sign me up, said one critic. Another commentator observed that the problem with Kaepernick's caper is that instead of addressing racial injustice, real or perceived, his tactic is not making the intended point about racial oppression. Instead, the country is talking about whether someone should stand or not stand during the national anthem. Many veterans who had fought overseas to protect the freedoms that Americans enjoy, such as not standing for the national anthem, for example, were deeply offended by Kaepernick's tactics. And the local police union told the 49ers organization that the 70 officers who provided security for all the home games would not work at the stadium if it doesn't take action against Kaepernick over his protest. Al Saracevic of the San Francisco Chronicle took a different view. Racial injustice is indeed a pervasive problem, he claimed. The statistics about housing discrimination, brutal arrests, and unjustified police shootings don't lie. But sitting during the national anthem will do nothing except invite scorn. Kaepernick, he said, is fighting the good fight with the wrong weapons. Now that observation grabbed my attention. He's fighting the good fight with the wrong weapons. My mind raced to a Bible story where the young shepherd David was to confront the Philistine giant Goliath, who was over 9 feet tall, wore a bronze helmet, and donned a coat of mail that weighed 125 pounds. He also wore bronze leg armor and carried a bronze javelin. The shaft of his spear was tipped with an iron spearhead that weighed 15 pounds, and his armor-bearer walked ahead of him carrying a shield. Well, King Saul offered David his personal armor, a bronze helmet and a coat of mail. David put it on, strapped the sword over it, and took a step or two to see what it was like. He'd never worn such equipment before. "Oh, I can't go in these," he protested to Saul. "I'm not used to them." In other words, get it? I can't fight the good fight with the wrong weapons. Instead of using Saul's armor, therefore, David picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream, put them into his shepherd's bag, and then, armed only with his staff and a sling, he went to fight the giant. "You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the God of the armies of Israel," cried David. "And everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle." As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into his shepherd's bag, taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling, and he hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the giant with only a sling and a stone. And then he ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from its sheath, using it to kill him and to cut off his head. Like Kaepernick, who some say is fighting the good fight with the wrong weapon, we Christians sometimes have more zeal than good sense, unnecessarily evoking strong pushback, rejection, and sometimes mockery from non-religious people. For example, in the Middle Ages, Western Christians known as Crusaders created havoc in the Middle East by fighting what they called a holy war in an effort to take control of Jerusalem away from the Muslim hordes. They meant well, but did more harm than good. Islam has never forgotten the atrocities, and the memory of those wars is an embarrassment to contemporary Christians. In our day, and closer to home, I suggest using violence to protest abortion is fighting the good fight with the wrong weapon. And what other strategies do well-meaning Christians adopt that offend rather than enlighten non-religious people? It's worth thinking about. The Apostle Paul reminded the church in Corinth that the weapons Christians fight with are not the weapons of the world. So, as we fight the good fight, let's be sure we use the right weapons. And thank you for tuning in once again to Village Church Connections.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Tune in again tomorrow when we'll take to the skies and show you some of the outdoor activities that happen here at Shell Point. Also, we'll bring you all the top stories from earlier this week. Until then, I'm Adam Brown for Shell Point Today for Thursday, September 22nd. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.